What's up, everybody? My name is Shannon and I am still waiting for my Satyr, and today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about The Last Jedi novelization by Jason Fry. So I know what you guys are thinking, like you already know everything you need to know about this book because it's the novelization of a movie, but I'm here to tell you that that thinking is like 100% wrong because there is so much in this book that you don't get in the movie, or like you can get it in the movie. Like lots of people that like love to theorize and like have devoted months of their life to this film, like I have and like all of my Twitter mutuals have. We've seen a lot of this stuff. We've kind of theorized a lot about a lot of this stuff, but you actually get it like alluded to so heavily in this book. There is so much in here that's like so much validation. It's absolutely insane. Like as you can tell, I have a lot of notes about this book, like a lot of notes. I have a lot of thoughts about things that happened in this book, and I'm gonna compile them all and kind of like figure out where my train of thought is. I have a lot of new theories that I kind of want to work through, but videos about that will go up on my other channel, which is called Network 1901, where I talk lots of Star Wars, lots of other Disney stuff over there. We also make t-shirts over there, so like if you want yourself a Reylo shirt, which you know you do, you can go check out Network 1901 for that. But anyway, back to the book. So the biggest takeaway, there's a couple of big takeaways, but the biggest thing that you should take away from this book that you need to know about this book is that going into 9, Hux is definitely going to be the big bad. Like this was a thing that people have been kind of theorizing about, like people are pretty sure of, but then there's still a lot of people that are like, why would Hux be the big bad? But it is so obvious in this book, the way he thinks about Kylo, the way he thinks about himself, the way he thinks of the First Order. Like it's just so obvious that he is going to stage a coup and he's going to overthrow Kylo. He wants to be Supreme Leader so bad. He has a scene where he like fantasizes about calling himself like Supreme Leader Hux, and then he has this like moment where he's like, oh, I bet there are like cameras on these elevators, like because Supreme Leader has a spy everywhere, and like everybody's freaking out because Reylo in the elevator. That's some pretty damning evidence you can use to overthrow Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. But anyway, I digress. There's just a lot of evidence in this book that he is going to be the big bad. There's also a lot of interesting things about the difference in the mindset between like old order versus like newer order. So like the way Hux thinks about things, the way he sees the First Order, the way he thinks he should lead, versus all of these like older officers that were like around during the days of the Empire and like what they're wanting. It's very different, and I feel like Hux doesn't exactly have them on his side, but I definitely think with his military power and knowing that he probably has a lot of other people on his side, it's going to be very easy for him to just step in and get rid of Kylo Ren and to put himself up as Supreme Leader, because he will not hesitate to get rid of people that don't like align with his ideas. He does kill his own father because of that, so I definitely don't think he'll have a problem getting rid of anybody who stands in his way. You also learn that the First Order is gigantic, especially compared to the Resistance. Like it's absolutely insane. By the end of this movie, like towards the end of this chase scene, there are 30 First Order ships like after the Resistance, and it's very clear that there is a lot more where that came from. And then the Resistance, like a lot of them die getting to Crate. Like I believe it said that like only 3 of the transports actually make it to Crate, and obviously like all of them can fit onto the Millennium Falcon at the very end. So the First Order is huge. Their might is insane. Like that was a big complaint with like there being no time jump. Like how could the First Order have already cemented so much power in the galaxy? Well, they've been planning this for a very long time, and it's very obvious in this book that like them destroying the Hastian system was a strategic move and that they were ready to take over when that happened. There's also just so much fear going on in the galaxy that nobody's really going to try and like stand out against them, except for this like band of rebels that we already have. That's why the rebels don't really get any responses coming back to them, because they're afraid of the First Order. Like so many people are afraid to do anything about it, to stand up and fight, and that's why the Resistance, you know, is in such a tough spot and why hope seems so bleak. On the theme of like standing up and fighting back, this book also gives you a lot more development of Finn's character, because going with him through Canto Bight, you do see him learn to go from somebody who just wants to run away from the First Order to somebody who's willing to die for the Resistance, like fighting the First Order. But you get so much more development with that in the book, and it's very amazing to see. You really see Finn like look at Rose and like hear the things that she's saying, like seeing her struggles and learning that like he needs to fight for something. Like, he does learn that he was willing to fight for Rey, and that's starting to expand with like more people that he's like learning to find as his home and as his family. And he does learn by the end of this book that his place is with the Resistance, and that he wants to fight, and that he needs to fight for something that he believes in. And he believes in what the Resistance is trying to do. He believes in them wanting freedom, for hope, for justice. And it was really amazing to see. It gives you just so much more insight into his character, and I really, really love that. Again, you don't need that necessarily for the movie, but knowing that it's all really there is just absolutely amazing. It's so, so great to see. Now, I'm sure what some of you guys are wondering is the Reylo and the Redemption stuff, because many people were saying that this was going to be the Reylo Redemption Bible, and let me tell you, it sure is. Now, the Reylo stuff isn't exactly expanded upon too much in the book. Like, honestly, some of the Reylo scenes, like, it's great to see them, like, written out and, like, all that kind of stuff, but you don't get a whole lot of insight into especially like Kylo Ren's mind. You do get a little bit more with Rey, especially towards the end. There's this one scene after Rey leaves, after, you know, the lightsaber split apart, and she's waiting for Chewbacca to pick her back up, and she reflects and she learns that like the cosmic force is moving through her, but it's also moving through Ben Solo, and she knows this, and she's going to wait for him to figure this out. Like, oh my god, we were all freaking out on Twitter, like, because if Rey's good at anything, it's salvaging broken things and waiting, and just, oh my god. So like, yeah, Reylo is in game, Reylo is going to happen. But what's interesting is that the author actually said that he couldn't give a whole lot of Ben Solo's perspective, of Kylo Ren's perspective, because it would give things like, it goes into 9 territory. We really can't know what's going on inside of his head, because we don't know how things are going to go in 9. We really don't know. But I feel like this book in particular lays out that Ben Solo redemption is happening. Like, that we are getting hashtag save Ben Solo. We get so much more about his story, his inner turmoil. And like, if you don't know about Ben Solo's story, it is the most tragic thing in the history of tragic things. And like pages like 81 through 83, which are the scenes where Kylo Ren's in his TIE silencer and he's like hesitates and he doesn't shoot Leia, and yet the bridge blows up anyway. And like that whole scene where she like flies back into the room with the Mary Poppins, or like whatever, like, you know what I'm talking about there. The way that's described in the book is heartbreaking, because Leia's reflecting on him like when he was little, and like you're getting all of this soft Ben Solo stuff, and then you see him hesitate and he's overcome with all of this like emotion. And then it actually says in the book that if he hadn't have been so emotional, so distraught with seeing the bridge actually like be blown up, he could have stopped it from even happening. He could have like stopped the shot like he did at the very beginning of The Force Awakens. And what's even more amazing is that he would have saved Leia. And again, with him being so emotionally distraught, he doesn't know that she's still alive. So like all of that stuff at the end is compounded again. Like, he didn't know that like Rey was on the Falcon. Like, he's not thinking clearly when he's so emotional, and so he's just like lashing out, and he's just trying to like destroy everything. He's so angry and that he can't think clearly, that he can't reach out in the Force and feel his mother or feel Rey. Like, that's very obvious in this book. It's also very obvious that Luke is somebody that is his villain. Like, Kylo Ren's villain is Luke. He is terrified of Luke, and he's so angry at him that he just wants it all to go away. He is his tormentor. Like, we know that Snoke is actually his tormentor, but in Kylo's mind, it's Luke, and he wants that to go away. Like, the emotions that you see on the page, like the way that it's written, is truly amazing, and it just gives you so much insight into that without going all the way into his POV, like what he was actually thinking. So to think, like, if we actually got that scene from his mind, like the way he was interpreting it would have just been like 10 times more insane, because just the little bit that we get is already like absolutely insane. So big takeaways from this book. Hux is definitely the big bad. We are definitely on the Ben Solo redemption train. We do get some more Reylo stuff. I mean, Rey is going to wait for Ben Solo. Like, it's absolutely amazing. And then also we get so much more character development with Finn. While we're on the topic of Finn, before I leave, Monday, you saw me do a video about this book called Cobalt Squadron. It's all about Rose and her sister Paige, and kind of like how they go into like The Last Jedi. It's kind of like right up to The Last Jedi, like what they were doing before then. You honestly do not have to read that book if you read this one. Everything that's in that book you get in The Last Jedi novelization. I thought that was absolutely insane. Like, it just, you don't need Cobalt Squadron at all. If you read this, you get all of the information about the Baffler, all of the information about like what she was doing and why her and Paige weren't together. You get it all here, so you actually don't need Cobot Squadron at all. Like, the only thing that I would say that I still liked about that book is that like it felt kind of nice knowing it, and I did get to see her and Paige interact, but you honestly do not need it at all because all of the information is in this book. But obviously I highly recommend it. Like, obviously now you know everything you need to know about it, but you should still definitely read it because it's absolutely amazing, and obviously it gives you a whole lot to think about, which I will be thinking about and talking about probably for the rest of my life, at least for the next 2 years. But please let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments below. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you can talk books with me every week. That is everything I got for today, and I'll see you guys next time.